So avoidance is a type of training where the dog does something, okay? And then when they do that thing, then the trainer or the owner fundamentally makes the dog uncomfortable at that moment. And then right after that moment, the dog says, oh, whatever I was looking at, whatever I was deciding to engage in, I should avoid that particular thing because of the discomfort that came from it. Now, avoidance-based training has been around for thousands and thousands of years. It's the way that we've trained so many dogs. And modern dog training, it actually still has a role in it, but it actually has a much smaller role than it did before. But it is still important to teach your dog to avoid certain dangerous things. So for example, let's just say that your dog is a kind of dog that when you go on your leash walks, every time that it sees another creature, a human, a dog, a cat, a squirrel, a bird or whatever, it sees any of those creatures, that your dog begins to hackle up and begins to, bark and doing all of that. We want to teach our dogs not to react to those stimuli, to those distractions. We want to teach our dogs to avoid them and to really then begin to concentrate back on us instead of being so focused in on the other thing. Now, avoidance-based training will not teach the dog to focus on you, but it will teach the dog to avoid and to ignore the other thing because it only leads to getting in trouble. Now, here is the slippery slope of avoidance training. Let's just say that you're walking with your dog and you have a training collar like a prong collar or a remote collar to create avoidance in the dog. When the dog looks away, if you use a training tool and then the dog looks back at you, that's a good thing. But if each time the dog's walking with you and there is never any reward for the dog actually staying with you, here's something that might happen. It's a very small chance, but it might happen. If the distraction happens to be another dog, your dog looks, it gets in trouble. It might think, okay, I get in trouble for being around the other dogs. But if it never gets rewarded and every time it looks at a dog, it gets punished, it can eventually form the belief that, oh, looking at another dog leads to bad things and now I need to defend myself and now I become reactive. What the dog needs to understand is that looking at the dog gets you in trouble with me, and now that you're paying attention to me, I'm going to reward you. I'm going to reward you and show you how good it is. And what happens there is that the next time a dog sees another dog and it avoids and looks at you and you reward, the dog actually has the opportunity to learn that looking away from other dogs gets me rewarded. And now the dog says, well, those dogs really aren't such a bad thing, but I just need to stay focused on my handler. And this is a really, really important point because a lot of people actually miss this. They miss it because they think like, oh, I'm just going to correct the behavior out of my dog and that's going to make it go away. But what you got to do is you have to balance the training. You got to tell the dog, you get in trouble for looking at the other dogs, but if you just focus on me, then good things are going to happen. And that's the really important part when you're actually doing any kind of avoidance-based training, that the dogs understand that there are choices, that some choices lead to good things, and that yes, some choices can lead to bad things. But just to have that you only can get in trouble, that's not enough, and that can actually get you in trouble.